What would the world be like if you had more buyers for the thing that you do than you could supply? Like, isn't that the goal? Isn't that the dream? Isn't that the wish of so many of us? However, most of us as business owners, we end up in this place of always needing to do business development, right? I hear this a ton from a lot of business owners that I talk to, and it comes across as I just need one more client, or we've got clients, and I'm always in this cycle of we get clients, we start doing the work, and then the work starts winding down, and then it's like, oh, where's the next client coming from? And then we have this period where there's this drought. How do we get out of that cycle, right? And the reality is you're there because there's something that most of us don't understand, and it's how to be oversubscribed. Oversubscribed. In other words, how to have more buyers than you can service. Imagine that. Imagine you were in a place where you actually had a wait list, and people knew that in order to work with you, they couldn't for the next 3 or 4 months. Imagine that. What would that look like? That's a totally different type of stress, isn't it? Yeah, it is. And that's where we need to be. That's where you need to be. That's what we need to be considering. How do we get to this state of being oversubscribed? Well, the reality is, in order to get there, we have to do things differently than what we've done. Because what we've done is put ourselves in a state of being undersubscribed. And listen, this isn't just about you. I do it too. I suffer with this too, right? We all do. This is a radical shift in thinking. And believe me, when I make this shift and we do it, it works like a charm, and then I fall back into old patterns. Okay? And that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. And it's how do we create this environment of being oversubscribed? Now, there is a great book on this if you want to go read it. It's called Oversubscribed. Go figure. And he outlines a ton in there. And the thing about it is, there's nothing new in the book. It's just reminders of things that we already knew. But here's the first thing. Here's the first thing, and the first thing that you must consider. Who is your audience? Are you building your correct audience? You see, if you're not building an audience, if you're not building and growing your audience, it's impossible to get to the place of being oversubscribed. It is. It was one of the reasons that we started this newsletter. Yes, I wanted to share my thoughts and so on and so forth, but part of it was growing our audience so that as it grew, we become oversubscribed. As more and more people join this audience, and maybe we do an event or we do something, there are more people in our audience that will want to come to the event than can actually show up, just as an example. Okay? So it starts there. And so my question to you today, as we talk about being oversubscribed, is what are you truly doing to build your audience? How are you really feeding your audience? Are you just creating, number one, are you creating content at all? Like, if you're not creating content at all, you're doing zero to build your audience. Okay? So let's start there. But if you are creating content, are you creating content that's actually going to enrich the lives of your audience? Things that they're going to want to consume and learn from and wait for the next time you put out new content, because they know the last time you put something out, it was good, and they want something more from you? Or are you putting out content that's your accolades of, ooh, look, I won an award, or ooh, look, somebody got me a mug? Yeah, like that doesn't enrich anybody's life other than make you look like a star, which, okay, great if that's what you want. But are you really creating content that helps your audience solve a problem, that helps your audience connect to you more, to learn to know you, like you, and trust you more? Is that what you're doing? Because that is the key, that is the start of being oversubscribed. Because you cannot be oversubscribed. You cannot have more buyers than you can handle if you don't have more audience than you know what to do with. It just doesn't work. There's no one to buy. That's why people, and I hear it all the time. I hear it all the time. People come to me and say, I got on social media 3 months ago and I started posting stuff and I don't have any clients yet. Nothing's happening. It's not working. Yeah, it's not going to work. You have no audience. Or I hear people say, I went out and I did this thing to get a lot of people to start to follow me and on social media, and then I put out a promotion and nobody bought. Yeah, because you built an audience of people who aren't your buyers. So yeah, they're not going to buy. Just because you have lots of people doesn't mean that they're going to buy if they don't want your thing. If you went out and got them, if you bought them or you tricked them or whatever to grow your following. So you've got to grow your audience. And once you grow your audience, you've got to communicate with them. It's not just okay to communicate with them on social media. Yeah, create a newsletter. Create another form of communicating with them. It doesn't have to be just email blast, buy my thing, buy my thing. Matter of fact, it shouldn't be that at all. Right? Now, if you're a retail brand and you're selling a hat or a shirt, okay, I get it. But even then, people get tired of, like this one brand, they send me every single week, best sale ever, 70% off. I'm like, how many times can you say that to me? Like, it's 70% off every week. I don't believe you that it's the best sale ever. And I have no urgency to come to your site because next week it'll still be 70% off. Because there's no value in the communication that they're giving. So even if you are a retail brand, you can still give value. It doesn't have to be all promotional. That's what people are looking for. This is how you build great audience, strong audience that wants what you have. And so then when you put it out, people come and say, yes, I want it. Okay, so first thing was what? We got to build audience. Next thing is we've got to communicate with them. But now let's take that communication a little bit further and talk about how we communicate. Now that we actually have built the audience, we've been communicating and engaging, let's talk about how we communicate with them a little bit. Now, the traditional way is to say, I have a thing, buy my thing. And hope that someone sees that you said that and say, oh my gosh, I want that thing. I'm going to go buy that thing from you. Versus, let me give you a slightly different way of approaching this. What if you asked your audience what they wanted? What if you asked them what they wanted? Give you an example. A couple months ago, we did a poll for one of our clients. Now, she was going to be interviewing someone in her field who was a celebrity, very well-known person, and we put out to her entire audience, which she's been building for a while, and she has a pretty large audience now. We put out to her audience, hey, I'm going to be doing an interview with a celebrity. Please vote on which one you would love for me to interview. And we listed 4 different people. But guess what? People voted and chose which one. Then, after they chose which one, We said, well, you chose this one, and we're going to be interviewing them. And hey, what questions would you love for me to ask them? And guess what? People wrote in with what questions they wanted asked. And so when we went and put out that, hey, the client says, we're going to be interviewing this celebrity, guess what? People showed up. People showed up. Why? Because we created an environment where she could become oversubscribed. We created an environment where we created demand for what she was going to do. Did we know we were going? Matter of fact, we were interviewing all 4 celebrities. We knew that. We knew that. Right? We knew that up front. We already had the dates picked out before we put the post out up front. But because we put it out that way, we were able to see exactly who was interested in what. Then we were able to send messages back to them, and they sent messages to their friends because the celebrity that she was interviewing was the one they were interested in. We got their questions, and they showed up for the event. We created demand. And that's what being oversubscribed is all about. It's about creating demand for your product and service. That changes the narrative when we talk about business development. When we talk about business development and now there is demand, when people are beating down your door for what you have, it's different than you turn around and saying, where's my next client coming from? I got to go find them. I got to go. But what we're not doing right now, and what we don't do consistently, even if we do it sometimes, is become oversubscribed and create that demand. And so I'm submitting to you today that, one, you should go read the book, Oversubscribed. It's a great book, number one. Number two, have you been looking at your business development wrong? Have you been considering your marketing wrong? Have you been considering your positioning wrong? Is there a way for you to create demand for what you do versus what the way it's working right now, where honestly, let's call it spade a spade. You're almost begging. We're almost begging, wishing, hoping that something happens. So, just something to think about. Love to hear your thoughts on this. Love to also hear you challenge me on this. Like, dude, my industry, I couldn't possibly create demand. You don't understand. I'd love to hear it.